This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tracking the tags. Is that grocery item really Canadian, or are stores maple washing products? Hailing the bus. A new Halifax transit boss takes the bus to hear from riders. And Hair, a toast to a Cape Breton salon that is closing after more than 60 years in business.
Temperatures rising overnight into Wednesday morning, then falling throughout the day as winds kick in from the northwest. Your full forecast is coming up.
In the face of U.S. tariff threats, the humble little maple leaf has been working overtime at grocery stores across Canada lately. Many places are using it as a way to signal to shoppers that something is a Canadian product. But are they? Our Francis Willock decided to find out just how accurate these tags really are.
In the face of U.S. tariff threats, grocery stores are trying to highlight Canadian products. Some are placing maple leaf stickers on shelves, while others are placing red tags that indicate something is prepared in Canada. But how accurate are they? Their use on grocery store shelves seems a bit haphazard. Tim Hortons coffee beans have a Canadian indicator at the superstore, but not at Sobeys. And some truly local products are missing the maple leaf sticker altogether. Mike von Massow says grocers should be clear about what their labels mean.
There is a risk of, to coin a new phrase, maple washing, to try and get more credit for being Canadian than perhaps a customer might expect.
Canada has plenty of rules about how food products should be labeled, but von Massow says consumers don't always know the rules or what the labels mean.
So I think there is some real confusion. I do think that people are paying more attention and taking the time to stop, but life is busy for many of us, and so some people are balancing as best they can and trying to find that information. And things like the Canadian flag, in some ways may make it easier, in some ways may be deceptive because they're not digging in to see what it means.
Sobeys did not respond to a request for an interview. Loblaw did not answer questions about how the company decides which products to mark as Canadian. A spokesperson for Loblaw sent a statement that said the company is showcasing products that are prepared in Canada in order to make purchasing decisions easier. Francis Willock, CBC News, Halifax.
And it has been another dizzying day of tariff threats from the Trump administration. It ended with Ontario Premier Doug Ford backing away from his surcharge on energy exports after President Trump dramatically upped the ante in the trade war. President Trump promised double the tariffs on steel and aluminum from 25% to 50% and said he will declare a, quote, national emergency on electricity in areas affected by Ontario's 25% surcharge. Later in the day, Ford said in a statement he would suspend the charge after speaking with the U.S. Commerce Secretary and agreeing to meet with him. Ford said he was confident that President Trump would stand down on his plans to double the tariffs on steel and aluminum. But he said he did not get an agreement to stop tariffs from taking effect Wednesday. A dispute between Nova Scotia and Ottawa over the Chignecto Isthmus was heard in court today. The province is asking the Court of Appeal for an opinion on who is in charge of infrastructure on the narrow strip of land that connects Nova Scotia to New Brunswick. Taryn Grant was in court to hear the arguments and brings us this story.
The Chignecto Isthmus is a small strip of land, but an important one. And it's the subject of a debate that's now before the Nova Scotia Court of Appeal.
So I'll be addressing 5 reasons why this court should decline to answer the question posed.
The Isthmus is the only path for a national rail line, the Trans-Canada Highway, and power and internet lines that connect Nova Scotia to New Brunswick and the rest of Canada. Who's in charge of protecting those crucial pieces of infrastructure? That's the question Nova Scotia wants the court to answer. But before the court will consider the question, it must first be convinced that it should. At a hearing in Halifax, this lawyer for the federal government argued the question is vague and not useful. She says the province is just trying to get Ottawa to pay the full cost of upgrading a system of dikes and aboiteaux that hold back the Bay of Fundy. Some of those structures are hundreds of years old. Upgrades are estimated to cost more than $650 million. Ottawa is offering to pay half.
The question is essentially an attempt to enlist the court in aid of what is really a funding dispute between orders of government. And respectfully, that is an unnecessary use of this court's valuable time.
Lawyers for Nova Scotia say they're not asking the court to rule on who should pay. They say that will be a political decision for later.
There is ample evidence within the record to respond to the question as framed.
Experts say the isthmus is at risk because of rising sea levels and worsening storms, the results of climate change.
There is a clear risk to the isthmus established in the record, as will be argued by Nova Scotia at the hearing on the merits.
Whether the province will get a chance to make those arguments remains to be seen. The panel of 3 appeal court judges reserved its decision for another day. Taryn Grant, CBC News, Halifax.
Northern Pulp has been granted a 5-week extension to continue studying the financial case for a new mill in Liverpool. The provincial government says it has been working with Northern Pulp for the past 9 months, ever since the two sides reached an agreement to end a long-running legal dispute. The company had to close its mill in Pictou County after failing to get provincial approval for a new effluent treatment facility. It entered creditor protection and took the province to court, but everything was settled last May in a deal that secured pensions for workers and included a commitment to study the possibility of relocating the mill to a site in Queens County. Northern Pulp said it had not yet found a way to make the financial numbers work and requested more time to work on it. All right, time for our first quick look at the weather forecast. Ryan Snoddon joining us in studio. Ryan.
Yeah, Tom, and a bit of a roller coaster ride over the next 24 hours in terms of temperatures rising overnight and into Wednesday morning and then falling throughout the day. And let's time it out with your hour by hour. And yes, indeed, the clouds will increase as we roll through the late evening and early overnight. A few showers with the incoming cold front. Again, the southerly winds ahead of the front, keeping temperatures very mild. You can see mid-single digits on tap overnight and into early Wednesday morning. Then the front will sail through. The winds will go from southwest to northwest, and that will usher in those much cooler temperatures. And indeed, from 6 a.m. onward, we're looking at those temps falling throughout the day. First, quickest in the northwest, Amherst back towards Yarmouth, and then eventually into the metro area and across through the Northumberland shore, and then into Cape Breton into the afternoon. Now, we'll kind of level off, it appears, near the freezing mark by late afternoon in the north. Still hanging on to above the freezing mark in and along the Atlantic coastline, but that northwest wind will keep things feeling rather cool. And it's all thanks to that front which moves through. We've got high pressure following it up with some sunshine and a big temperature rise for the weekend, Tom. We'll talk about that with your full 7-day.
We'd like to hear more about that for sure. Okay, Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Halifax has a new transit boss for the first time in nearly a decade. Hailing from Ontario, he's taking the bus to learn the system and says he wants to hear from riders. Hayley Ryan has more.
Halifax's new transit boss is learning the system from the seat of a city bus. He says it's the best way to find out what is or is not working.
I didn't bring a car. I take transit. I take transit everywhere I go. I go shopping on transit. I leave work and I jump on a bus and I go to a terminal and I talk to the operators, and I've already met a lot of the operators.
Robin Garris took over as Halifax Transit's executive director in January. It's the first time in nearly a decade the city has a new person in the role. He started as a streetcar driver in Toronto in the 1980s and worked his way up through that system. He oversaw Guelph's transit system for the last few years. Garris says he wants to hear from transit operators and riders because they know the service best.
One of my strengths or weaknesses is that I like to talk, and I have absolutely no problem talking to customers. If they want to vent, they can vent. But I love talking about their experience, good or bad.
Garris says Halifax has lots of potential, and small changes could make a big difference, like tweaking schedules and working with the union to improve driver conditions. The transit union says they have long called for management to take the bus, and members are shocked to hear Garris started behind the wheel.
I'm cautiously optimistic, but certainly my interactions with Robin thus far have been very positive. It's a refreshing, different way of doing things.
Garris says he'd like to see Halifax eventually try new models, like on-demand bus service or microtransit in rural areas.
We were very pleasantly surprised by how ambitious he was to kind of try new things.
Garris takes over at a key time as the city deals with major population growth, increased traffic congestion, and overcrowded buses that aren't always on time.
My promise to the transit riders are that I'm going to do my best to try to make improvements to gain back their respect to use our system. That's why I'm here.
Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
It has been 5 years since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. The declaration kickstarted a bevy of policies that transformed the way Canadians lived for years. It followed months of rapid spread of the virus, which forced mass lockdowns around the world. The declaration triggered the shutdown of schools and offices. Travel limits and bans on social gatherings were put in place. And public health officials became household names as Canadians sought to keep up with the latest advice with each new wave. The global COVID-19 health emergency was lifted in May 2023 following a downward trend of the virus for more than a year. After 6 decades, a Cape Breton hair salon will be hanging up its shears this week. Gals and Guys Hair Works in Sydney River will close for good on Friday. During its more than 60 years in business, the shop has cut, permed, or dyed the hair of thousands of clients. Erin Potty has that story.
It's the end of an era at Gals and Guys Hair Works in Sydney River. The shop is closing down after 61 years in business. It's brought a mix of emotions to owner Bernice Layton.
Well, you know, I'm 85, and it's been my life.
Layton's late husband first opened the business in the 1960s. Back then, it was known as Fred's Barbershop, which would later become Gals and Guys. At one time, the Laytons ran 5 hair salons across the CBRM, employing more than 70 people on their payroll. Now, there is only one shop and 4 hairstylists at Gals and Guys, including the couple's 2 daughters, Sandra Layton and Susan Dunn.
I grew up coming in and sweeping up hair and filling shampoo bottles and emptying out garbage when I was very young. And so it was just easy to come and help out.
Sandra Layton started working in the shop 44 years ago when she was still a teenager. She's seen plenty of hairstyles come and go, but says the relationships she's made over the years have stood the test of time.
A friend, a family member, a sounding board, yeah. And it goes both ways because they ask about us too. We try not to give them too much information, try not to complain too much. But yeah, the ones that you're closest with are really, you get to know the details of their lives.
Some customers have been coming to Gals and Guys for decades, including Renee Ryan of Marion Bridge.
A lot of our customers would be heartbroken because they're certainly going to miss Susan and Sandra and the rest of them here too. They're all nice.
And those feelings, it seems, go both ways.
We owe everything to Cape Breton for, being good clients over the years. We have one client that comes in twice a week to get her hair looked after, and a lot that come in at least once a week. So they were our bread and butter.
Last year, the Laytons made the decision to not renew their building's lease. Rather than sell the business to someone else, the 3 women have simply decided to retire. But they say they'll miss seeing their staff and customers each day. Erin Potty, CBC News, Sydney River.
Cole Harbour's Nathan MacKinnon reached a milestone Monday night when he logged NHL career point number 1,000.
Turns it, fires, score! Redirected by Arturi Lehkonen, and the Avs have taken a 1-0 lead, and there it is. Career point number 1,000 for Nathan MacKinnon.
What a milestone it is. The 29-year-old center, who already has a Stanley Cup and numerous other records on his resume, logged 2 assists for the Colorado Avalanche in a 3-0 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. MacKinnon, the NHL's reigning MVP, became the 100th player to hit the milestone. He's also the first ever former Halifax Mooseheads player to reach the historic number. Not a bad evening, certainly in Halifax tonight. Ryan Snoddon back with your full weather forecast right after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. After dismantling its old Mi'kmaq exhibit from the 1970s, the Nova Scotia Museum of Natural History consulted Mi'kmaq elders and experts about what should come next. Jalasi, which means welcome, is an updated exhibit, this time from Mi'kmaq perspectives. The CBC's Indigenous reporter Sismahan was there to take in the opening.
I think Mi'kmaq people are finding the place to come in here and say, wow, this is us.
Jalasi is shaking up the design of the Halifax Museum of Natural History by bringing in a new permanent exhibit that celebrates Mi'kmaq culture from an authentic Mi'kmaq perspective.
This is a space where Indigenous folks will be welcome. Even the name, Jalasi, come in, Biskoabas, Yalasmi, you know. The idea is this is going to be a community space, and the material culture on display is just part of that. It's not the main focus. So it's really a different take on a museum, at least in this region.
It's really exciting. It's been a lot of work for the past 7 years, and especially this week. But it's really exciting to see all of our plans kind of come together and people be so excited about what we have to share.
The museum handed creative control over to the Mi'kmaq Advisory Group and followed their lead on the design of this exhibit, which brings contemporary Mi'kmaq history to life.
It's got to be language focused. It's got to be contemporary, and only they could do that. You look at the colors here, very, very vibrant. And you see that in artisans who work in Mi'kmaq material today. It's very vibrant, very, the contemporary work uses a whole realm of color.
Located in the heart of the museum, Epjalasi features audio storytelling, interactive displays, artifacts, and even a repurposed moose and deer display that's been a museum staple since 1970.
We really wanted to make a point that the Mi'kmaq are still here, and we are going to continue our culture and our worldviews into the future. A lot of the times when we look at museum exhibits, there's a tendency to think of specific groups of being in the past only, but we really wanted to make this space like a living, breathing space where people would understand that cultures continue and evolve over time.
As we were installing things this week and setting things up, that I felt my heart just, taking some jumps. And one has to do with the clay pots that are here that really speak to daily life of the Mi'kmaq 1,000 years ago, and that preparation of food and the caring of families and sharing and gathering.
This belongs to us. It's our space. So I think that's important, and I'm really impressed.
Sisimohan, CBC Indigenous, Halifax.
All right, we've been there before, up and down with the temperatures. We're in that pattern again.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out earlier, we are going to soar here very shortly, aren't we?
Yeah, ending the week with an upward trend for sure, and that will lead us right into the weekend, which is looking quite mild and very spring-like, and I'm sure a lot of folks love to hear that.
We're okay with that.
Have a look at our temperatures out there right now. We have been nicely popping today. 8 in Greenwood, 5 and 6 degrees into the Tri-County area, the Halifax area just above the freezing mark. And yeah, it has been oh so nice. Now temperatures are going to likely drop a little bit over the next hour or two and then rise as we move through the overnight as these southerly winds really kick in. Look at the winds right now, sustained in the 20, 30, 40 range in Westport, in fact, and gusting upwards of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour. It is going to be a windy night tonight, at least for this evening. As the winds shift to southwest, they'll weaken just a little bit, but still pretty gusty, no doubt. Here's how things are looking in terms of the radar. Had a couple of flurries over the Cumberland County area and the North Shore into Cape Breton earlier, along this warm front, and indeed that is the warm front there that is starting to push its way in. And as that front moves to the east, that's when the winds are really kicking in from the south and then the southwest. And as we move back things out here, there's the front, the cold front that's rolling through the St. Lawrence right now. That is going to be pushing its way in and across the Maritimes overnight and into the early morning hours of Wednesday. High pressure to follow it to reinforce some of that cooler air that's going to spill in, and then we've got this area of area of low pressure that's going to be following that up. But let's play it all out for you here. So note the temperatures: 5 degrees in through Alberta right now, 6 in Vancouver. Temps kind of riding that line across through the Great Lakes. -4 in Thunder Bay, but 8 on the plus side in Toronto. And as we look at temperatures for Tuesday night, we're actually going to be watching these temperatures for the most part rising. So note, we will fall a little bit in through this evening, especially in the east. 0 to -2, -3 will bottom out maybe around 10 o'clock tonight. Temps pretty much steady here in the west. And then note as we move through the overnight, those temps are going to be ticking up in the east, ticking up in the west. This is when we're looking at that frontal boundary to move through with some showers, clouds, and that shower activity will continue overnight into Wednesday morning. It looks like even by the wee morning hours of Wednesday, we'll be on the other side of the front for Amherst, back into the valley and down towards the Yarmouth area. This is the area that will also feel the northwest winds first. And so as we look at the noon hour, we're going to be looking at those temperatures falling below the freezing mark here. The milder temperatures hanging on here across Cape Breton into the noon hour, and then those temps will fall. Halifax area likely hanging on to 4 or 5 degrees, even into the afternoon as that northwest wind will be ushering in the cooler air, but it'll arrive on the Atlantic coastline last. And yes, we'll look at a fair amount of sunshine breaking through in behind. So some good news there. There is a slight chance of a flurry on the other side of the front as temps near the freezing mark for Cape Breton and the North Shore for tomorrow afternoon. Southwest winds becoming northwest winds there as the front does move through. Northwest winds pretty much from the get-go elsewhere, as you saw, and they'll be sustained in the 20 range, gusting 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, looking at Thursday, temps will be anywhere from 0 to 2, 3, perhaps as mild as 4 degrees right along the Atlantic coastline. It is going to be one of those days that will be, I think, pretty variable in terms of the sun and the cloud, as that area of high pressure is right overhead. Pretty fine day indeed. That area of high pressure slides off to the east. Southerly winds kicking in on Friday. And Friday's looking really nice. The southerly winds, yes, will be perhaps a little bit breezy along the Atlantic coastline. Note for Friday, we're into just the edge of this mildest of air. And this is the dome of mild air that will really start to crawl in for Saturday and into Sunday. And yes, we'll hang out even into Monday. Now, we will see some of that colder air spilling back in, it looks like Tuesday into Wednesday of next week, but then perhaps another push of milder air towards the end of next week. So focusing on Saturday here, that's the best chance that we'll see some sunny breaks on Saturday. Temperatures near 12 degrees. Drizzle chances on Sunday, but it looks like for the most part dry. And then the wet weather arriving Sunday night into Monday. But yeah, pretty spring-like looking 7-day forecast there, Tom.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, shipbuilding contract, what Ottawa's $8 billion deal with Irving could mean for the city of Halifax. The Department of National Defense has awarded an $8 billion deal to Irving Shipbuilding to start building 3 new destroyers for the Royal Canadian Navy. It will cover the first 6 years of construction on work of the River-class destroyers. Patrick Sullivan is president and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Sir, what was your reaction when you heard of this pretty massive contract coming to Halifax?
Well, I think we were very excited. It was a great announcement on a weekend. $22 billion to be spent over the next, sort of 8 or 10 years, I think, to 2035 for 3 ships will be a great start to the future production of 15 ships overall.
How many of those 5,000 jobs that they're talking about in Canada attached to this project do you think will actually end up in Halifax?
Well, I think a good portion of them. I believe it'll be around 2,500 at the Irving shipyard. And then, of course, there will be the suppliers in terms of maintenance, in terms of technology, software, all of those things. I suspect there will be significant offices established in Halifax if they're not already here.
Yeah, and the money that we're talking about, or the money at least that was announced, is to cover the first 6 years of construction. But as you point out, presumably this project has far longer reaching impacts than that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a generational impact for us in Halifax. It'll take until approximately 2050 to get all 15 ships produced. Although, the Irving shipyard recently was 2 months early with the latest AOP ship. So we can hope that it'll happen a little sooner.
And when you say impact, I mean, what is the potential impact on the city? We've kind of had the dry run with the ship start here. What might we expect in terms of the impact on the city?
Well, think of the salaries that are paid to those employees. So, 2,500 employees, and I'm going to guess, at a salary of $50,000 or $60,000 a year, which is well less than the average salary in and around Halifax. And that amount could be upwards of $200 million, or close to $200 million a year in salaries. And when you do the calculations, it just starts to become bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, the average person keeps a car an average of 10 years. That means there's going to be 200 cars purchased every year. People are going to spend money in restaurants. People are going to spend money on events and activities for their kids. It's a lot of money spent in our community, and good, solid jobs.
So it should mean more growth for the community. I'm just wondering, what are some of the lessons that we learned about handling this potential kind of influx of shipbuilding jobs, having the history of the Ship Start Here program more than a decade ago? What are the lessons that we might take from that to help make this even better transition or change for the city of Halifax?
Well, I don't think it'll be quite as dramatic as the change we experienced 10 years ago or so. Some of those jobs are already here. They will, of course, be hiring, as I understand it, additional staff to support them moving forward. But I think what it really talks about is the longevity of those jobs, and those jobs for the next 25 years. And the commitment of the Government of Canada and, of course, the Irving Shipyard to our community.
I want to ask you, before I let you go, obviously Donald Trump in the United States making news again today with tariffs in this country, and we've been hearing a lot about this over the last month or so. From where you sit at the Chamber, how concerned are you about the impact of that on the city of Halifax? I know we're talking about good news for the shipbuilding, but what would be the impact of tariffs?
Well, I think we're concerned for all of Canada. I think there are other areas of Canada that'll have a greater impact when you think of the auto sector. When you think of Nova Scotia, China just imposed 25% on lobsters. So I would encourage people to purchase more lobster and more seafood. Michelin is a very big producer of tires. Many of those are exported to the United States. So of course we're concerned about the jobs We understand 25% going into the United States, as distasteful as that sounds. What concerns us, I suppose, is those inputs coming back and the not knowing exactly what those would be right now. Because although we know about some of those big companies, we don't know about the smaller companies that may have far smaller inputs or may utilize shipping companies and go into the U.S. So, the impacts could be significant. We're very much hoping that the impacts will be short-lived, and perhaps there'll just be a better renegotiation of the USMCA, and things will calm down again, and we'll be able to return to the integrated economy that North America is.
We shall see how it does all unfold. Patrick Sullivan, President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Coming up, speaking of tariff threats, U.S. President Donald Trump doubles down on steel and aluminum imports from Canada, then backtracks. And truce talks. Ukraine makes progress on a ceasefire deal while meeting with U.S. officials to discuss ending the war with Russia. Welcome back. As we told you earlier, it was another day of on again, off again tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. First came a vow of 50% duties on steel and aluminum starting Wednesday. Then indications that would be paused. Free trade talks are now planned in Washington between American officials, Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Federal Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc. The CBC's Katie Simpson reports from Washington.
Canada will face a 25% steel and aluminum tariff starting Wednesday after a roller coaster of a day with threats and policies changing quickly. It started with the U.S. president threatening to double steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada to 50%. The White House says Donald Trump was angry with part of Canada's tariff retaliation plan, specifically the 25% surcharge Ontario placed on energy powering New York, Michigan, and Minnesota, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford's threats to cut off energy altogether.
There would be grave consequences imposed on Canada if they think about shutting off electricity. Canada would be very wise not to shut off electricity for the American people, and we hope that that does not happen.
Not long after the White House briefing, Premier Ford announced he would suspend the energy surcharge after a phone call with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Ford described the call as productive, saying he'd been invited to meetings at the White House later this week. Trump himself then suggested he may ease up on his new threats against Canadian steel and aluminum.
The Ontario Premier calling you and giving you his decision about the electricity surcharge, and you said you were pleased about that. Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
That, but probably so, yeah. He was a gentleman.
Just to be clear, sir, the 50%, is that going to go into effect on Canada or not?
Which one?
The 50% tariffs?
I'll let you know about it. Yeah, okay. I'll let you know. But I appreciated his call. I thought it was nice.
The White House then confirmed it would proceed with its original tariff threat, 25% on steel and aluminum, no exceptions. Canadian officials are expected to respond Wednesday. A retaliation plan is being finalized, the size and scope of counter tariffs and other measures to be revealed then. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Canadian businesses and workers are still bracing for the impact of U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. The CBC's Nisha Patel reports.
Rahim Molu is preparing for tough weeks ahead.
The situation is worrying. It definitely keeps me up at night.
His small family-run business makes steel window wells and garden beds. Just the threat of tariffs has already had an impact.
All of our American distributors have canceled their orders with us. I don't think we'll ever get all of that business back.
U.S. President Donald Trump says starting Wednesday, tariffs may be imposed on steel and aluminum imported from Canada. The rate seems to target raw materials as well as finished metal products.
So that really wipes out any opportunity to continue a profitable business into the United States. So we have to look at that very, very closely.
Canada exports more than 90% of its steel and aluminum south of the border. While companies are trying to come up with backup plans, in the short term, tariffs could be deeply damaging.
We're talking about developing new markets, increasing productivity, and all those things. But, I mean, that will take months, if not years.
When Donald Trump hit steel and aluminum with tariffs back in 2018, Canadian exports sank and metal prices rose. It lasted for about a year, but disrupted other sectors too, from manufacturing to construction.
This is one of those costs that can cascade over time. And not just in Canada, but also south of the border.
Ontario and Quebec will likely bear the brunt of these latest tariffs. With tens of thousands of jobs tied to the industries, workers are on edge.
We're afraid of job loss. When job loss happens, even at one company, there's always a cascading effect.
Rahim Molu says he's changed his business plan entirely, canceling any plans to expand to the U.S.
Even if miraculously a new deal was reached overnight, it's not like flipping a light switch. Our American distributors aren't going to be rushing to do business with us.
Whatever tomorrow brings, for him, the damage has already been done. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
The U.S. says it's resuming military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine immediately. The about-face comes after talks between U.S. and Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia, aimed at ending Russia's war against Ukraine. Kyiv also says it was open to a U.S. ceasefire proposal subject to approval from the Kremlin. These developments are happening hours after Ukraine launched its biggest attack on Moscow since hostilities began 3 years ago. Hundreds of drones targeted 10 Russian regions, sparking fires, shutting down airports, and diverting flights. Russia says it shot down over 300. The attacks come after the Trump administration suspended military aid and intelligence to force Ukraine to negotiate a ceasefire. Meantime, Ukrainian officials say Russia launched more than 125 drones and a ballistic missile into the country. Palestinians in Gaza could be out of clean drinking water in a matter of days after Israel cut off its electricity supply to the territory. It's one of the things Israel is using to apply pressure on Hamas to free its remaining hostages. As Crystal Gamansingh reports, this could be just the beginning.
Access to clean drinking water for hundreds of thousands in Gaza will become increasingly challenging after Israel decided to cut off power to the South Gaza desalination plant in Deir al-Balah. Now, this is as close as we can get. Western journalists are not allowed inside Gaza. However, working with a freelance videographer, Mohammed, we are able to show the latest pictures of that plant in Deir al-Balah. According to the deputy director of Coastal Water Utility, the production has been greatly reduced, going from about 88,000 cubic meters of water being produced per day to roughly 3,000 cubic meters of water being produced per day. The challenge isn't just to access clean water, but food and supplies as well. More than a week ago, Israel shut down the borders to aid. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said they will use all means to pressure Hamas to extend the current ceasefire and release all of the hostages. There are talks going on when it comes to trying to move forward with the ceasefire talks. Israel's former ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, says Israel is in a difficult position considering how much people are demanding that all of the hostages be returned immediately.
We've now had 11 days of ceasefire without Hamas having to pay any price for the ceasefire. And so that's not a good situation either. It's 11 days in which those hostages continue to suffer, unspeakable horrors. So that's not an advantageous position for Israel either. And Netanyahu is going to be under increasing pressure within his own coalition to do something.
Things have been relatively peaceful, but there are ongoing sporadic military operations. Israel Defense Forces did confirm that earlier today there was an airstrike in the Nazarene corridor. That's an area that sort of divides the north and the south. They say individuals were threatening soldiers in that area. Unconfirmed reports say that there were at least 6 individuals killed in that strike. Crystal Gamansingh, CBC News, Surat, Israel.
Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has been arrested on a warrant from the International Criminal Court. He was seized in Manila after arriving on a flight. The global court is charging the 79-year-old with crimes against humanity over a deadly anti-drug crackdown he oversaw during his term. Thousands of people died. Critics say authorities carried out extrajudicial killings. Duterte, who has also insisted police were told to kill only in self-defense. He unilaterally withdrew the Philippines from the ICC treaty in 2019 and maintains it now has no jurisdiction. Police in the UK have arrested a man on suspicion of gross negligence and manslaughter in connection with yesterday's ship collision in the North Sea. The 59-year-old, who was not named, has not been charged and remains in custody. This as UK officials work to find out what happened after a cargo ship struck a tanker carrying jet fuel for the U.S. military off eastern England. The collision set both vessels ablaze and sent jet fuel from a ruptured tank pouring into the sea. One sailor remains missing and is presumed dead. 36 other crew members survived. Officials are now watching for damage to birds and sea life as a result of the spill. Well, it may feel like spring for parts of eastern Canada now, but people in some parts of the country should keep the winter jackets close. Cold weather is set to return later this week. The CBC's Johanna Wagstaff explains what may be behind the cold snap.
Very cold air is returning to parts of the northern hemisphere. You've probably seen the headlines. Is it a polar vortex collapse? Is it not? Does it matter? It will get cold for parts of eastern Canada and northern Europe as we head into the middle of March. But where's the cold coming from? The polar vortex is the air that circulates over the North and South poles. It's always there, but it exists pretty high up in the sky, 15 to 50 kilometers in the layer we call the stratosphere. It's the layer above the troposphere where most of our weather is at. Sometimes this vortex gets knocked down or stretched to lower latitudes, especially during something called a stratospheric warming event. That's a super ominous and scientific way to say rapid warming in that upper layer. In fact, sometimes this rapid warming is so disruptive, it reverses the normal counterclockwise direction of the vortex and winds start blowing clockwise. This only happens once every couple of years. When we get this reversal of winds up high, sometimes it can act like a barricade for the wind at lower levels. You get sort of crashing waves happening vertically and horizontally in the atmosphere. So yes, sometimes these big warming events high in the Arctic can lead to deep freeze outbreaks for Canada and Europe. And it goes the other way too. Sometimes big warming events at the surface can translate all the way up into the stratosphere, but not always. Sometimes the lower level Arctic air spills down on its own without this crazy warming event needed, or sometimes the crazy warming event happens, but our jet stream does its own thing anyway. The layers do interact, but as you've probably guessed by now, it gets very complicated. And that's why there's always a bit of hesitation from scientists, myself included, when we hear the term polar vortex outbreak in connection to our weather. So what's the case right now? Well, there are some signs in the forecast models that we may see a massive warming event for the polar vortex, and the winds may even reverse, but it's not for sure. And even then, we don't know for sure what that will mean for the lower levels of our atmosphere, aka our weather. But we do know that this is an area of research scientists are really interested in right now, especially when it comes to climate change and how the different layers of our atmosphere are responding to all this extra heat.
That's the CBC's Joanna Wagstaff reporting from Vancouver. Canada's main stock index continued its losses today, while U.S. markets also fell as tariff tensions between the two countries mounted. As we head to commercial break, here's a look at where things closed. Okay, the sun's nice. We know things are going to be warming up in this province. That's lovely as well.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of the show is, I think, the picture that you bring us every night, because you take us someplace to see the best of Nova Scotia. So where is it tonight?
Tonight is the spot we don't get to see very often, especially in the wintertime. Going to Pictou Island and have a look at this. We're going to zoom in now. There it is.
How exotic.
Yeah, right? Of course, a lot of people, summer on Pictou Island, not so much year-round, but Sarah Thompson is one of Sarah, make sure I got yes. Sorry, it might be Sarah McDonald. The email says Sarah Thompson, so and Sarah McDonald in the email. So Sarah, either way. But anyway, she's been on Pictou Island year-round since the pandemic.
Oh wow!
And so she said this winter was pretty cold, pretty windy, not a lot of snow there, and you can see the ice there building up now on the beach. So thank you to Sarah for sharing this. A nice rare sight of Pictou Island in the wintertime. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Thanks, Sarah, for this. Temperatures for tomorrow, these are going to be your highs in the morning. And then the wind shifting to northwest, and we will see those temperatures dropping as we work our way into the afternoon, because that northwest wind will usher in those cooler temperatures. 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees again to start the day, but we're going to be ending in the plus 1 to minus 2 range. For Thursday, again, a little bit milder along the Atlantic coastline near the freezing mark in the north. And it looks like that area of high pressure will keep us pretty quiet. There's the area of high pressure that's going to be edging its way in, and then right overhead on Thursday, keeping the winds nice and light. Friday, we're looking at a temperature increase as the winds become southerly. Double digits on tap for Saturday with some sunny breaks. That's going to be the pick of the weekend, no doubt. And then we've got some cloud cover and some drizzle rolling in for Sunday. But it looks like for the most part dry. Fog patches likely. And then for Monday, that's looking like our wet day. But yeah, spring-like shot here for mid-March.
That is spring for sure. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Well, now, to end on a sweet note, U.S. tariffs may be changing the way several big businesses are approaching the American market, but chocolate maker Lindt is making a move to avoid counter tariffs imposed by Canada on the U.S. Swiss chocolate maker Lindt is aware that Canada is one of the company's top 10 consumers by volume, but 50% of the chocolates the company sells in this country are made in the U.S. The rest come from Europe.
So in response to the proposed tariffs, Lindt began stockpiling its chocolate supplies here in Canada, and into the future, the company plans to sell all of its Canadian product directly from Europe to avoid additional taxes and American boycott attitudes.
And that is sweet, isn't it? Don't you think? That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.